Hi everyone, in today's video I am going to talk about how do you go about writing your research objectives. Now although many students feel that writing research objectives is very simple and easy, they often make mistakes or they don't write them properly, because of which often examiners or reviewers then can attack the student or question them on it. So please understand that your research objective is should be very clear, concise and complete. It should be very specific. It should tell the reader or the examiner or the reviewer exactly what is it that you plan to achieve from your study. It should be very clear. It should not be ambiguous. It should not be very vague. It should not be very generalized. It should not be too broad. It should be very, very specific. Many people often use research objectives and then they list sub objectives. That's a good idea as well, because the sub objectives then tell the reader as to what are the subtopics or what are the interlinked topics that you want to investigate as well. I'll give you an example here, that your research objective could be you looking at how an increase in the temperature is leading to the low production of crops or high production of crops, whatever it is. So you are basically looking at how temperature increase, maybe due to global warming, is affecting the yield of crops, the production of crops, right? That is your research objective. Your sub objectives could be that you are looking at this problem in the months of the monsoon, or you are looking at it from a specific year, say 2020 to 2024, or you are looking at it based on a certain climatic phenomena that has occurred, after which you are looking at it. So it could be before El Nino or El Nina or something like that. You could have some specific objectives which are still linked to your main research objective, but it is interlinked, but you are looking at it specific. So you can say that my research objective is to look at how increase of temperature due to global warming is affecting the yield of crops. My sub objective is that I am looking at it during the months of March to August, or I am looking at it in from year 2020 to 2024, something like that. All right, so these are your research objectives. So you cannot be vague here. So if the reader reads and they don't know exactly what you're trying to investigate, they won't know what is the purpose of your study, because the research objective also makes it very clear whether your study is a descriptional study, is it a correlational research, are you trying to ascertain causation, are you trying to investigate a hypothesis, are there variables involved. So you have to make it very clear. So for example, we always say that it should be clear, concise and specific. But if there is a correlational study, then you include the variables. For example, you are trying to investigate whether different teaching methods are correlated to high scores or not, or you are trying to investigate that is correlation study can be so many types of study, right? So different assessment methods, is how is it correlated to high scores or low scores. So that is a correlation study. If you are trying to investigate a hypothesis, then that hypothesis should also be clearly mentioned there in terms of like for example, you can say that I am trying to investigate, is an increase of unemployment leading to increase in crime in society. That is you are trying to establish a relationship between the two variables, or a hypothesis that an increase in unemployment is leading to an increase in the number of crimes happening in the society. So sub objectives could be that you are looking at it after global financial crisis, or you are looking at it after COVID that has occurred, or you are looking at it after maybe more alcohol bars have opened in an area, or you are looking at it in a specific society like the Aboriginal society, or any particular community that you're looking into, right? In your description research or your research, sometimes you have to clearly specify what is it that you're investigating. For example, are you trying to investigate the number of alcoholics in a certain community or a certain society because of certain cultural habits that they have? Now, although you have to be very specific, sometimes you may have to hide the names of an organization that you are investigating, or the name of a company you're investigating, or the name of a society, or a certain school that you are investigating. So if you are investigating how many sexual harassment cases have happened in universities in a certain state, then maybe you cannot mention the university that you are investigating or certain universities that you are investigating, especially if it can lead to certain lawsuits. So although you have to be very specific, sometimes in some cases you may have to hide the specific names of organizations or companies or communities that you're investigating. But as far as possible, you have to clearly mention, so that when the reader reads the objective and the sub-objectives, they know exactly what your research is about. Now, you will never be able to investigate everything under that topic. So if I am talking about investigating how increase of temperature is leading to low product yield or low crop yield, you cannot be expected to investigate all the factors, all the sub-factors there. So that is why when you list the sub-objectives, when you list the sub-objectives, then you are making it very clear to the reader exactly what is it that you are focusing on, so that they know that your research, the scope of your research, you cannot over-promise and not deliver, or you cannot under-promise and then make it look like a PhD or a highly cited research. So once you make it very clear, because remember, every sub-objective needs to be investigated in depth. So if you list about 10 sub-objectives, but you have touched them on the surface, you have barely scratched the surface and you have not gone deep into it, then the examiners and reviewers and the readers will not be happy, because they will know that your investigation is not an in-depth investigation. So when you list a couple of sub-objectives, remember that you have to go into the depths of it. You have to analyze each of them deeply. You have to analyze each of the variables, each of the extraneous variables, the independent variables, and have a good understanding of that topic, so that when the reader has read your research, they know it's good research. You have covered all aspects, you have considered all views, and the research that you have produced is high quality research. Because if you just scratch the surface and you have not investigated the problem in depth, although you have listed 10 research objectives or 10 sub objectives, it is of no use. So always make sure that you spend time in writing your research objectives. Once you write, make sure you take it through the supervisors, you show your colleagues, you show your co-students, and have a think through. Spend some time on it. Make sure that it looks scientific. Make sure that it's worth investigation. The answer to your research objective should not be a simple yes or no. It should be something that someone needs to investigate and consider other factors or other variables as well while you are investigating it. So the problem is complicated enough for you to investigate, and yet it is valuable to society. It has some real world implication of it. So spend time on writing research objectives, and I will see you soon with my next video. Bye for now.